Hello and welcome to this Community Talk segment. Today we will be discussing about clean economic recovery post-COVID-19. We have two experts in the clean energy area joining us today. First is Mr. Monish Ahuja from Mumbai, India, and second is our local man, Mr. Manoj Kumar from Melbourne, Australia. Manoj Kumar is the Director of Clean Technology Equipment Private Limited, Australia, and have been working in the field of scientific instrumentation and environmental monitoring clean technology since 25 years. He has also lectured on air pollution monitoring at various institutions and forums globally. Lieutenant Colonel Monish Ahuja is the Managing Director of Punjab Renewable Energy Systems Private Limited. He is an alumnus of the prestigious National Defence Academy, Khadagwasla, Pune. Monish has been bestowed with many awards in the field of clean energy and is known in the biomass fraternity as a dedicated and knowledgeable leader. Welcome, Monish and Manoj.
Thank you, Vikrant, and thank you, Manish ji.
Uh, Thanks, Manoj ji, and thanks, Vikrant. It's a pleasure to join this talk show from India. Greetings to the Indian community in Australia from India, and we hope that things are safe and well with everybody.
Great,
Thank you.
thanks. Thanks, Monish and Manoj. So my first question is actually to both of you. So whoever wants to start, you can respond to that. What is clean technology and clean energy according to you? Maybe
If I can start first, if Manish is okay.
Yes, absolutely, Manoj ji. Please go ahead.
Okay. For me, what I understand clean technology is the technology, products, services, or process that reduce wastage to minimum and takes very less amount of fossil fuel to do their work. So they takes less fossil fuel or any non-reusable fuel or resources and give very less wastage. So that's the technology, or we can say that the technology which is used to generate clean energy is also like solar panel and all that is a part of clean technology. And the clean energy is the energy which is generated by the natural process, like it's the solar energy, like the wind energy, like the hydroelectric, and different other kinds of energy. Thank you. I hope Manish ji will explain in the better way.
Thanks, Vikrant, for the question, and it's a very vast field and scope which you have asked. So my take on the first part, clean technology, is basically a plethora of technologies across segments of energy, across segments of sustainability, across segments of technologies which can be utilized for climate change mitigation. A combination of these would encompass or qualify to be a clean technology. These technologies are across plethora of industries. So basically, post the industrial revolution, where the phase was to utilize fossil fuels, and in the last decade or so, the global awareness of the damage that we as society have done uh, to the environment, to the ozone layer, to the pollution levels of carbon in the atmosphere, and the effects that it has started having on environment, society at large. All technologies which can be utilized for a reduction, for a reversal of the damage we have done in terms of environment, climate change, would qualify as clean technologies. These could be nuclear, renewable energy, storage, it could be process technologies, and a combination of all would qualify as clean technology. And it's an evolving field in the sense technology evolves every day. So all that we can better from what was yesterday continues to qualify as clean technology. The second part is slightly more dearer to the work that we do in India. is about what is clean energy. And if you look at energy, uh, about 10 to 15 years back, clean energy was limited to clean electricity. So if you produced electricity from the forms of energy like wind, solar, hydro, biomass, then it was qualifying as clean energy. However, there has been a paradigm shift in the definition of energy. So today, energy is not only about electricity, but energy is about mobility, energy is about storage, energy is about the gaseous energies, energy is about the liquid energies, energy is about a plethora of things which we utilize consciously or subconsciously. And in all these spaces, today there is the advent of clean energy. And what is the datum line or yardstick of comparing clean energy? The United Nations UNFCCC, the Climate Change Committee Forum, has this datum line with the usage of fossil fuel. So usage of fossil fuel for electricity, usage of fossil fuel for transportation, usage of fossil fuel for aviation, usage of fossil fuel for shipping, and so on and so forth. So that becomes the datum line. And whatever forms of energy you do, non-utilizing this fossil fuel becomes the comparative index. So for us, it is bioenergy at the core, which translates into mobility, the biofuels, bio-CNG, bioethanol, biodiesel, bioaviation fuel. It translates into electricity from biomass. It translates into municipal solid waste utilizing into multiple forms of energy. And now the more conventional renewable energy of wind, solar, hydro, which is further transitioning now into electric vehicles, battery storage, and so on and so forth. So this is the definition of the energy segment of it. Thanks, Vikrant, for a fantastic opening question. I think it sets the tone for the discussion we are going to have.
Yeah. Thanks, Monish, for an elaborate and detailed analysis of that and giving the proper definition. My next question is to Manoj, and I'll come back to you on that, Monish, a little later. So, what are the main issues that we need to focus today with regards to clear and renewable energy?
Vikrant, see, the issues which is related to Australia basically and the globally, and following the pandemic of COVID-19, the challenges are how to recover the economy, how we can recover the economy of Australia and the globally other country could recover their economy. Using the clean energy, if we are using the clean energy, which is the future for every country, using our economy, recover our economy using clean energy, the only question is that how we are going to restrict most of the things to use clean energy. If we are going to use clean energy, we have to generate that much clean energy, and that requires more investment sort of things, and that will help to generate more and more jobs and create economy. So these are the challenges at the moment. We can say these are the situation issues we are facing, like how we could use clean energy to put our transition to get the zero emission and bring our economy back on track.
Okay. So, Monish, how would you respond to this question about the issues that we need to focus?
So I think I echo what Mr. Manoj Kumar is saying, but I'll take a different take on it. It's about creating a circular economy. It's about creating a sustainable economy. It's about creating an economy of energy which is clean, green for times to come. And this has to be a change in mindset for governments, for people, for the society at large. And the change is going to come at a cost. Any change we look at is uncomfortable because it's away from the normal, and that change over a period of time becomes the way of life. So we have to systematically change the thinking process over a period of time, and this will take couple of decades. I think we have now reached a inflection point where about a decade has now gone into the global society to see that there is a need for this change. Now we are at a point where we need to fast track it over the next 10 to 20 years so that this becomes the way of life. The second part is, if you look at any change to happen, there will be an incremental cost initially till the economies of scale set in. And as a thought process, we as society should be able to pay that incremental cost today for our children and the future generations. So look at the circular economy, look at the blue skies and the blue economy, so to say, the oceans. Look at the plethora of activities which we now know for a fact we have done wrong in the last 30, 40 years of the industrial revolution. Look at the municipal solid waste and plastic waste management. And as a whole, look at converting all these natural resources as forms of renewable energy, and take this pledge now as society that we are going to use only renewable energy. So if I go to fill gasoline in my car, I must be conscious to say, yes, there is an option of fossil fuel gasoline available, but I'm not going to fill that. I'm only going to fill the renewable gasoline. And when the demand for the renewable gasoline picks up, the manufacturers are going to say that there is no demand for the fossil fuels and we don't need to do this. And that's where the change will start coming. So it's about all forms of renewable energy where you can create the circular loop. And that's my sense of how we need to take it ahead in the next decade or so.
All right, Monish. So thanks for again giving focus on a different aspect here. Manoj will move more focused on our approach to Australia now. So what do you think is the clean recovery plan proposed by Clean Energy Council Australia, and what is its objective?
See, Vikrant, on 5th of May, Clean Energy Council of Australia came with an initiative and plan, and they proposed they are planning to they propose the recovery of our economy using clean energy. Now, how they are the proposal they put in their proposal, they are planning to put 50 billion of dollar injecting into the economy. Then second, by injecting that money, they are planning to create 30,000 megawatt of additional clean energy, and to do that they are creating 50,000 of jobs in Australia for the Australian people. So, and after that, if we are generating those that much clean energy, jobs, and also there is a very there is no, basically we can say there is no carbon emission. So this is a good thing that we have a good economy. We can get the job, we can get generate electricity, and that we could help to boost our economy. At the same time, what they are saying, there are a lot many technology, emerging technology in place in Australia, like hydrogen gas energy and some other sort of clean energy that we could later on send to other part of the world. That technology other part of the world could use also, because Australia is not that much populated country who could consume everything on their own. So they could, like, sell to other places, and in this way Australian economy will be recovered using clean energy, what they propose. Thank you.
Thanks for giving your view, Manoj. And Monish, you have been doing many international collaborations and you've been working with various international stakeholders. So what is your view on this growing trade opportunity between Australia and India? Is there something that you see in future that will boost the country's economy through clean energy?
So the answer there is a definite yes. The Australian and Indian economies are based on a very sound foundation of democratic values. There is a very good exchange over a long period of time of people, of personals, of technologies, of cultures, and this is something which has to be the foundation of the work to be done in this space. We are committed to carbon reduction. We are committed to mitigation of climate change. We are committed to multiple aspects together where there are certain MOUs and certain principles which have been agreed between both the countries. And that being the basis, definitely clean energy is something which will be at the forefront. So if you see what India has done uh, with the establishment of the International Solar Alliance, which is headquartered out of New Delhi, and it itself brings more than 80 countries globally on a platform for clean solar energy. So it's a good indicator. My view is, as Mr. Manoj mentioned, the other forms of newer clean energy, so the bioenergy segment, is something which Australia, being a vast geography with large amounts of land, forest land, good climatic conditions, could become a global leader in that space. And in this clean bioenergy, there is a good scope to look at a plethora of forms. So it could be part of the 30,000 megawatts which is there. So you could do biomass to electricity. It can be done in multiple forms. It can be done by setting up boiler turbine generators, which is conventional. It can be done through the biogas route by setting up gasifiers. You could also do thermal, which is heating and cooling, both from this biomass. So that's a form of energy which needs to get recognized. So it need not be megawatt electricity only, but it can also be megawatt thermal. You also have the conversion to compressed biogas, which can be further upgraded to bio CNG. So that's clean transportation fuel. It can be upgraded to bio LPG, so that's cooking gas into your households. It can be further upgraded from gaseous to liquid forms. So that is for transportation, that is for aviation. So you can have the entire gambit of energy from this bioenergy segment. Also, from this biomass to biogas, you can have the separation of hydrogen, and you can have the hydrogen fuel cells, the hydrogen economy based on this. So if you start developing from one side, in the next 10 to 15 years, Australia has the potential to be a global leader in this. Sustainable forestry, I think that is the order of the day. In the last year or so, we have seen the vast fires that Australia has seen with the forest fires. So why not convert it into a sustainable forestry where you grow, you cut, you regrow over a period of 30, 40, 50 years. So if you can look at long-term lease for sustainable forestry, then there is a vast scope for a joint collaboration with countries like Australia and India.
Great, great, Monish. There was something really interesting to know about, and the approach for future recovery also. So my next question is about the recovery and how we can use clean economy in a better way for economic recovery. So Manoj, would you like to respond to that?
What Manish has mentioned, it's the very good way what he has mentioned, because we do have a lot of plants and forest, and we have seen the bushfire, and we are cleaning. We put lot of money to clean the wastage and all that during the bushfire. We could use all those resources, bio that material, and we could utilize that for the biofuel. So this was another opportunity what Manish has said, and that could be added to the 30,000 megawatt which Clean Energy has proposed, and this is a good way. I remember I was the clean energy sector president for Australia and India Business Council, and I have delegated 2-3 times from Australia to India during trade mission. And definitely every time Australia and India puts clean technology at the top during their discussion. So far, not much we have done, but still, like, it is one of the priority of Australian government to collaborate in the sector of clean technology and clean energy with India.
All right. Of course, we have discussed quite a lot about the clean energy and its usage. So there are lots of small businesses which have come up recently, and they are working in this area, and they are looking for more opportunities in this area. So my last question to you both is, what would be your key message to small businesses looking for opportunities in clean energy sectors? So Monish, can we start with you?
Sure. So if you look at what we call in India as the MSME sector, so that's the micro, small, and medium enterprises. The MSME sector has to be the backbone of sustainability for the large industries. So the large industries typically outsource to multiple small industries which get associated. The other aspect is what we call as the DRE segment, which is the distributed renewable energy. So if you look at the large farms, the large land masses that are available in Australia, each of these are islands of potential renewable energy. And they need to be incentivized to be able to get their own RE farms as a combination of solar, wind, bioenergy, and whatever they generate, the utilization for their own consumption should get incentivized. The additionality should get injected into the grid. And there's a multiple grid. So it's an electricity grid, it's a thermal grid, it's a gas grid. So depending on the type of technology and the size, so a micro could be, let's say, industry to about 100,000 to 200,000 US dollars, a segment for a medium or a small. So you can classify it, and based on the segment, you can incentivize people, you can incentivize industries to start setting up these. And to set it up, I think it will be a good platform to have Australia, India kind of a forum where the technologies can be available and these could be incorporated for setting up these projects. So I think over the next 3 to 5 years, you would see many of them across all the provinces coming up. And that's where you would start seeing the shift. So basically, it's like as we did in the army days, you make a kind of a strategy, and then you make a tactical move, and then you start implementing province-wise province. So depending on the type of energy, so if there is a province which has a good wind ecology, then that could be taken up, say, for the wind sector. If you have something where you have a good solar luminosity index, then that can be taken up for the solar sector. And this way, start building the ecosystems. And this would then support the local entrepreneurship to come in. You would have the mom and pop shops coming up for setting up of the solar industry, jobs coming up, technical expertise coming in. Similarly, in the bioenergy segment, you would have manufacturing coming in, you would have repair and maintenance coming in, you would have long-term 20, 25 years operation and maintenance coming in, and get this entire plethora kicking in. So Apex body with a target to implement year on year for a 10-year period, and that's the model to take it ahead with.
Yeah, thanks a lot, Monish, for talking about this kind of model and structure, and your advice of starting a kind of a forum between Australia and India in the energy sector. Probably there might be already an existing forum. So Manoj, what would be your thoughts on what Monish has said, and also give your point of view about the small business looking for opportunities in clean energy sectors, especially in Australia.
I do agree with Manish fully because he has mentioned more about the clean sort of a small business and different other level of business and how to collaborate with Australia and India. But I would like to first mention that after this COVID-19, our definitely already our small businesses are suffering and it will suffer later on also. So definitely which clean energy council has proposed and government is looking after recovering the economy. So most of the small business people, they will also work in they will work in the clean technology sector like the solar panels. They are putting they are buying the lot of businesses, a small business owner, they are buying the solar panel and they are supplying to the solar panel. So there are lot many people who are involved into the sales, who are involved into the logistic, they are involved into what Manish said, technical services, install the lot many are the installer, they install the solar panel in the roof. And also apart from that, there are a lot of small industries, they work on developing the technology which is like transformation of the power, the grid and cable, they have some innovation on that. So there are a lot of opportunities for the small business in Australia. The second thing is that I have seen a lot of small businesses which is not in the energy sector, like they are in like restaurant and other also. They are struggling with the power usage and cost of the power. So if the cheaper renewable energy will come, it is going to help them also. So the clean energy is not directly through the clean energy, but in a different way, different forms, they are going to support and help small businesses and at the same time reducing the emission for our future. Yes, Manish, go ahead.
Yeah, so I'll just give you an example of the last 2 months of my company in India. And why I say this is we have seen almost 100% lockdown of businesses across sectors, and the MSME sector is the biggest hit in this segment. Now, what has happened is only a couple of days back, the government of India has changed the yardstick of the definition of MSME and has enhanced each of them in the sense something which was 100,000 as a yardstick to qualify it as a micro has been increased tenfold, and similarly for the small and medium. My business, uniquely in the bioenergy segment of what we do, we have just not been hit by this pandemic. And it's kind of very unique. We have been operating to 100% capacity right through. It's only my offices out of the towns, which is Bombay and Delhi, have been shut. But otherwise, each of my plant location, as I told you, it is decentralized, is a unit in itself in rural India or in semi-urban India. And we have been able to operate each of them. So the message is, if you're able to make smaller size units, you even if one is hit, you could still have the other ones running. And so as a company, our revenues are not hit. We have had no retrenchment. We have employees reporting for work. Yes, the new normal of the various advisories from government for COVID protection, HPE, PPE, sanitization, all of that is something which is the global world is learning and we are learning as well. And those are getting implemented, those are getting monitored, which is a fantastic thing because we need our people to be safe. But if you are able to do that, which we are doing, we continue to run our assets of renewable energy.
So thanks a lot, both Manish and Manoj, on talking about clean economic recovery post COVID-19. It was good to have diverse perspective about India and Australia and how we are responding to it. Thanks a lot again. This has been really immensely useful discussion today, and definitely I'm going back with a better understanding of clean energy and renewable energy. So many thanks for joining us today.